Good morning. Today's gate is going to be on gate 52. Gate 52 comes into the sun sign here in another day or so. I think it's on Wednesday. And we're going to talk a little bit here about what it is that gate 52 is involved with. We're going to be lens stacking and weaving through the layers between human design, astrology, gene keys, a bit of the nature connections, and I will be inviting you to take a look and see where this gate is active inside of your world, where in the astrology world you might have one of these elements activated, and we can begin to explore this. Gate 52 is also one of the recommended places to start working with inside of the gene key sequences for the very beginning of the activation sequence, the golden path sequence that Richard Rudd put out. So 52 starts us off. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here while I'm talking. Gate 52 starts us off with looking at stillness. It invites us to look at where we constrict our breathing. So let's back up just a little bit here. We're going to be working across this line up here at the very top, 52. We're going to start out with the fact that it's the element of water. So being that it's in the Cancer sign, 3 degrees and 52 minutes to 9 degrees, 30 minutes of Cancer, we're looking at the early degrees of Cancer. It's the first water sign in the astrology sequence. And so it's young, it's moody, it can be a bit immature. It has this this need to figure it out, except that it's water. So that need to do a thing isn't always a thing that's met, right? This is a cardinal aspect. So it has a very specific way that it is presenting itself. The I Ching is called keeping still, mountain over mountain. So in mountain over mountain, we're looking at a very it's very solid, it's very structured, and it's not, right? Mountains are not still, even though they may appear to be still. They very slowly erupt through the surface and grow over years as the landscape around them changes, as pressures underneath of them change. And so mountain over mountain speaks about us long, slow change. In the human design aspect of things, it's in the root center. 52, and this Cancer energy is located down in the root. So that drive, and it's a pressure center. So it's always under pressure and wanting to move. And so if you have this gate defined, if you have the root defined and you have this gate defined, because you can have this gate defined without the other end of the channel, without the 9 being defined, and you might not have the root being defined. If the root center is defined for you, that means that you may experience having a continual access to this root drive pressure. Now remember that root is activated in series of pulses, which means it's on and it's off. It's on and it's off. And so if you're looking for it to be the kind of constant that the sacral as a motor is, you're not going to find it in the same way. It's a very different kind of motor, the root center. In this 52, we're looking at this stillness, this ability to be still, to choose where to be still. It has a creative concentration, right? A concentration that helps it to focus on what can I surrender to in this moment? What can I bring into a more powerful way of being? Where can I move deliberately? How can I be still and embrace the understanding of what's happening around me so I have the ability to explain, thus bringing everybody into the loop before we move forward? This can also be about temporary self-imposing inactivity in order to be able to calmly reassess matters at hand. Right? So we're looking at an ability to be able to be with what is going on around us. This 52 is part of the channel of concentrator or concentration. It's stability. right? So in this process of being able to find stability in oneself, this is one half of that deal. It's a generating channel, so it's part of that generating energy, which means it wants to be able to respond to life. It's part of the circuitry of collective logic and part of sharing. So in collective logic, we're looking at collective energy where it's not tribal, it's not individual, it's not focused in on the personal so much. It's more focused on that collective energy. What is going to serve the whole, right? And so if we get stuck in a personal aspect of things, that can be part of what drives us out of our stillness and into a sort of like a faux pas where we don't end up bringing forward the things that we're really wanting to be able to. 52 is part of the quarter cross of civilization. So this is bringing life into form. Right? This is how are we going to get along? How are we going to move things forward? It's Godhead, the not self trap. 52 belongs to or is part of Pavarti, the goddess of domestic bliss. Right? So when we can find how to be in a good way with stillness, we can dance inside of how we get to create the kinds of comforts at home that bring us into that relaxation. Now, remember that Godhead side of things, the not self trap, it can be a trap where we get so complacent. So it's an edge to be mindful of. And 52 can be a little bit contrary in the sense that it may want to be still when there's things to get done. And it may want to be moving when it is time to be still. So in a lot of senses, there's a bit of a discernment that's being asked for inside of this energy. This HGCH here, they're talking about the hanging gate with a channel. So 9, gate 9 is the hanging gate or channel to the 52. And now we're going to be sliding our way over into the human design side of things, where 52 is recognized as the key of the still point or of the mountain itself. And here we are talking about it on the mountain of Nemeton, which I quite love. 52's programming partner. Okay, so programming partner is the gate that is directly opposite on the mandala wheel. And that is gate 58. To 52, we're gonna stay focused on 52 and not get too distracted with the weavings of the other things until we've gone through the whole sequence of the 64. And then we may start lens stacking more things. At least that's where I think we're going. So I'm going to be still and allow things to come to me. So now we're going to touch into the shadow gift and the essence, the gene key perspective of gate 52 or of key 52. I call them gate keys. It encompasses both sides of things. So this is the shadow of stress. Richard Rugg calls it the phenotype of fear. Right? This is a stress that causes a dilemma of shallow breathing. Right? We get stressed out. We start to breathe really shallow. We're in that shallowness of breathing. We are, stuck in a victim state of stress. Right? We're a victim too. We feel like it's happening to us, that we don't have any control. Its repressive state, where it can be hidden from our own view, is where we're staying stuck. Where its reactive state can be restlessness. Like I need to do something. I'm bored. I need to create something around me. And so the shadow affirmation, the owning aspect of this with the 52 is all I hear is noise and all I see is chaos. And so if you resonate with that, keep coming along for the ride. Because sometimes remember, these shadow states, all of these shadow states are here. Let me rephrase. The shadow states are things that we get to experience on the way to embracing our gifts. They can be places where we get stuck and stay stuck. They can also be nodding moments that we go, hello, there you are. I see you, and I'm going to keep going, right? So you recognize it on the way through. If you can learn to recognize the shadows that are inside of your inner cartography mappings, whether that's your human design chart or your gene key chart or your emotional bridges chart, your tendencies towards where you get stuck and or where you shine can give you a lot of great keys to knowing where to apply certain kinds of practices, knowing where to bring along certain kinds of tools, and to be able to plug things in order to help stabilize. 52 is the gift of restraint, ecological torque, right? Where we get the opportunity to be able to patiently watch ourselves grow like a seed, where we get to be with the things that are going on inside of ourselves. Restraint is that like recognition of this restlessness, recognition of feeling stressed, and finding that still point inside, finding that restraint that says, let's calm this and ground. Let's be in a place of the stillness of the wave. Right, so now we're moving into the essence, the pure expression. This is sitting at the stillness at the heart of all creation. Right, so that's when we are able to patiently watch ourselves grow like a seed, then that energy of sitting in stillness can descend and can come be with us. Right, in this world, I look at it from the perspective that we are not trying to be essence, pure expression, because we still have bodies. And so if we try to be in pure expression, we are technically stepping out of alignment with being able to be responsible and accountable as human skin-suited beings for now. And we can allow that essence to come in and be with us while we are sitting in and with our gifts, potentials. 52 is part of the codon ring of seeking. It has a family of other gate keys that we will get into another time around this codon ring of seeking. And it is part of that process of seeking meaning, seeking what is it to be human? What is it to be this being inside of this skin suit that is walking this journey? Its physiology is the perineum, right? So it's that little spot between your butthole and whatever genital organs that your body is carrying this time around. So that very, very physical root of your body. Its amino acid is serine. So with serine, you can take a look at what foods are supportive of that amino acid, what foods are high and rich in that particular amino acid. I don't have that information sitting right in front of me. If I'm able to come back to it, I will drop it into the description so that it's something you can start to play with. I recommend playing around with it if it's something that you feel drawn to. Remember, there are so many practices that we can do with each one of these gate keys. Looking for the ones that draw you. Like if your human nutrients is low, perhaps working with foods that are rich in amino acids might be a thing that is supportive for your physiological body. Inside of the nature connections with the 52, we have the stone of howlite. It's a really beautiful white stone with these lines that move through it. We've got the plover bird. We've got the armadillo animal. And we have the insect or fish of the anemone. Right? So these are different aspects and different elements that you can explore inside of your own world if you feel really drawn, whether that's wearing a stone, whether that's, studying the bird or studying an animal, or maybe a feather comes to you or something of that nature shows up in your external world and you're like, wow, that's really like drawn my attention. Richard Rudd has a book also that goes into great depth around all of these. I more use these nature connections in this sequence of things to help see where there are magical and energetic components. All right, beautifuls. That's all for this time, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Oh, one piece that I want to add. Right now, and so I'm speaking to you on June 24th, 2024. Gate 52, I believe, comes into effect on Wednesday. And when it comes into effect on Wednesday, it is showing up in the astrology inside of the 11th house. And so what I would love for you to do is, if you are drawn to this practice, is if you have gate 52, go look and see where in your astrology, I'm going to slide my screen back over to the beginning, where in the astrology, in your astrological chart, do you have this range of 3 degrees to 9 degrees of Cancer. And so that will show you which house your 52 is in. Now, I'm going to show you this just very general. I don't have like where this came from. It's a very simple explanation of what the different houses are. I'll be making my own here soon. So house 11 is aspiration. It's group contribution. Friends, groups, goals, aspirations, right? So right now, when this activation comes into play, it's going to be in house 11. And so the next time it comes into play, it's going to potentially be in an entirely different place in this astrological wheel. Yes, I'm bouncing between systems. Just if you're feeling a little bit lost, it's okay. We are currently looking at the astrological world inside of the houses. I find it really beautiful to look at the gate keys from human design and gene keys, as well as its emotionality. Remember, water. So we didn't actually talk a bit about the emotional bridges side. Cancer being water, water being an element of emotion, specifically the element of grief, sorrow, feeling, releasing, crying, feeling that like quake on the inside where it shakes and it cracks open through your resolve. It can crack open through arrogance. We can see things in different ways that we may not have seen before. Grief cracks our hearts open. It can also feel like we're dying. So it can feel really rough, and it can be an amazing opportunity to open ourselves up in even greater ways than we may have ever understood ourselves possible to being inside of. And when we look at that inside of this 11th house of what's coming up in a couple of days, we're looking at that watery element. We're looking at that stillness. We're looking at that, oh, this is a stillness that also has a deep emotion to it. Right. And so we're looking at that inside of our friends, our groups, our goals, our aspirations. This is house 11 is long arc. It's looking at what are we creating on a larger level? What are we contributing? How is our stillness contributing to the group effort? How can we bring a groundedness to what it is that is trying to be built amongst our peers? So it feels like it brings a whole nother level of meaning. You might find that your gate 52, or at another time, the gate 52 is in another house in the astrological wheel. And so it may have a different kind of level of impact at that point. So, and with that, I wish you all many blessings on this beautiful day, and happy exploration. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.